Hello, good evening. Welcome to the second leg of Nigeria 2015, our continuing coverage of the elections today. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
And I am Gimba Umar. I want to thank you so much indeed for being part of the program. It's Nigeria 2015, reaching you live here on Channels Television, and I can assure you that it is indeed action-packed. So many things have gone down. Just from the voting exercise, from the accreditation exercise, up to the voting. In some states, they couldn't achieve that. Yeah. But we're going to see how that plays out up till tomorrow, possibly. Yeah. And then we'll have the results coming out.
Yes, indeed. And so there'll be so much reactions coming from almost all quarters. Don't forget, our correspondents are all over the place in the country to bring us up to the minute concerning what is happening where they are. We'll let you know who will speak and when they will in the course of the program here today. But let's remind you that our social media platforms are also available for you today, now, for you to get your voices heard on the program again today at Chamberlain Oso, Channels TV, or even Gimba. That's 003.
Oh, yes, Gimba 003. You can also tweet at us and just we get your information very quickly. And your thoughts, of course, as we progress as a country, as a nation, to try to get who leads us for the next 4 years.
And if that is too short for you, we have an email address. That's Nigeria2015@channelstv.com. You can bring us whatever information you love to. Don't forget, we also appreciate you sending us pictures of what's happening wherever you are about these elections. We will collate all of those pictures and you'll see how they will play. Already, some of them have been running through via poll stream, which will again come to you today. But then we also like to remind you some emergency numbers that the State's Office of the National Security Advisor has provided. If you notice any movement whatsoever, whatever may be happening around you, you can just call some of those numbers, 070-5727-4630. You also do have 0705-727-4632. And then they also have a short message delivery system, 20544. So if you see any item you'd like to bring to the attention of the authorities security-wise, those numbers will work very well indeed for you today.
I'll tell you what we know so far. We know, and we brought it to you just yesterday, the two presidential candidates, General Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressives Congress, of course, and the President, Goodluck Jonathan, they both went through the voting process, started with the accreditation, of course. We experienced a little bit of delay by the President himself. It took him just about 30 minutes before the process could go in for himself, his wife, and his mother. But it was totally different for Buhari. It took him just 50 seconds to go through the process. So today we're going to be looking at the process as it is unfolding. Now some states are already having it at the voting point at the moment, and there are concerns also. At some point we spoke to the Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, who said that there is no restriction whatsoever of movement in Nigeria at the moment.
Even though elections are going on in some parts of the country today where they could not conclude yesterday. But we'll focus on all of those matters and a lot more here today. But let's introduce a panel of analysts tonight. We've got on my extreme left, we have Malaki Ugumadu, a legal practitioner and Channels TV's in-house consultant. Thank you for coming on today.
Pleasure to be here again.
And then sitting beside him is Professor Patience Akmanobong, political scientist and also Channels TV's in-house consultant. Thank you for coming on again today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's take a look at this item. Remember, it was yesterday where the Commission did release that statement. So, wherein they said, well, if you're not able to vote via the card reader, if the card reader can't read your data on your PVC, you can resort to manual accreditation. Well, that much was said yesterday. So that lots of comments predicated on that very comment yesterday. Let's take you back to what transpired, as it were.
So the guidelines for the conduct of the 2015 general elections provide that where card readers fail to work and cannot be replaced, elections in such polling units will be postponed to the following day. The scale of the challenge we have observed today has necessitated the reconsideration of this provision of the guidelines. The Commission has therefore decided as part of the guidelines for the conduct of the 2015 general elections that in polling units where card readers have failed to work, the presiding officer shall manually accredit voters by marking the register of voters upon being satisfied that the person presenting a permanent voter's card is the legitimate holder of the card. The above notwithstanding, in polling units where accreditation was suspended to the following day in accordance with the existing guidelines, arrangements will be made for voters to vote tomorrow, subject to the provisions of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. The Commission reassures the voting public that it will thoroughly investigate what happened while it remains committed to the delivery of free, fair and credible elections in spite of these challenges.
So there you have INEC speaking up about the voting process. That key decision, let's take a look at it today. Let's start with Professor Patience Agbanabong. Now, that particular comment making where they had to resort to manual accreditation, for so many, the different strokes, actually, they say for different folks, but how timely or impactful was that decision by INEC?
Well, from what I understand, the backup plan is already in the Electoral Act. That's what one of the guests said yesterday. I haven't confirmed that. So obviously that was an option that was available to them right from the beginning. But having said that, I guess they still had to make sure that the card readers didn't work before they went to Plan B, as it were. I think in terms of how does that impact the process, the goal remains the integrity of the process, free and fair elections with everybody having the opportunity to vote, everybody who has a PVC, that is. And as long as that goal is achieved, I think this is okay. I think this is a good thing. My concern actually is having a two-day election when that was in the plan initially. Given the Nigerian factor, just having to carry that over to the following day creates room for all kinds of problems and some of the electoral malpractices that we are trying to avoid. And so that's my only concern, but in resorting to the manual process, I don't think that's a problem since it was already part of the plan originally.
Interesting. Malachi, what are your thoughts when you hear people say that perhaps the conception of using the card readers is a little too virgin to push into a presidential election for a country like Nigeria, 170 million people? This is too much of a risk. But don't forget that INEC actually tested this in 6 geopolitical zones in 2 wards each, bringing to 12 the number of places where it was tested. Was this inadequate?
Well, it will be difficult to discountenance those fears and misgivings on the part of the Nigerian people and the electorates, essentially because the question of this election is not just crucial, but a very deciding and decisive exercise for the Nigerian people. However, I think that what became a problem as at yesterday was the level of coordination and communication on the part of INEC. You would find that this directive that indicated that INEC officers can resort to the Plan B, that is the use of the manual exercise, came very lately in the day. But for the resolve and determination of the Nigerian people, that could have created the kind of confusion that would derail the process. And I think that this is a work in progress. But I cannot forget the fact that INEC should be commended because, like the Prof said, the entire objective of this whole exercise is to improve the integrity of the process, leading to the legitimacy of the outcome. But if you allow me, I would think that INEC can fall back on some of these experiences just so that the gubernatorial and the State House of Assembly elections will be a lot more improved, drawing from the experiences that we have had presently.
My question to you is that, do you think this technology is too virgin to have been used for a presidential election, knowing the importance?
It is almost like saying, are we already at the stage where we can begin to use telephone, GSM telephone lines? There is never a time when it is too early or too late to begin to implement or have some of this advanced technology in place. The reason being that even the way we have it today, there's already a consensus out there that the question of the conventional rigging pattern has changed. In my previous appearance here, I did inform that if it's in a particular state in the south east, the PVC cards were bought massively. But before the election, those cards were returned to the owners. Why was it so? It is because it became clear that the idea of buying up these cards were not going to assist those who were perpetrating that transgression.
So are we assuming that they did not even get those cards because it happened across the country, different parts really? Because some suggested there was that conspiracy theory that maybe they even took it to go and see if it was possible to clone those cards, and afterwards say, well, yeah, you can take. There were a
lot of permutations, a lot of considerations. That is on the one side. The other side is that we also heard that what actually happened was that if you knew where you were weak, all you needed to do was to go buy up the cards there and make sure that those people don't vote, so that in lieu of those cards, you pay those who are submitting it to you. So there were a lot of such permutations. But I think the important news is that it has become increasingly difficult for political actors to rely on the conventional rigging pattern to be able to derail this process. And I think that INEC should be commended for this initiative, should be commended for insisting, because as it were, you will recall there were a lot of pressure. In short, I must mention here that on the penultimate day and on Friday, preceding Saturday, I know of very serious senior members of the bar, Mr. Falana in particular, who were jumping from one court of the Federal High Court to another, insisting that they must find out the latest case to be able to crush it at that moment. I think that keys into the entire resolve, the entire determination of the Nigerian people to own this process and be able to ensure that we deliver on this present assignment.
I think that, yeah, there's a point we also have to make. The fact that we don't know the extent of the malfunctioning of the card readers until the process is concluded. So if at the end of the day about 80% of cases succeeded, so then we can't really say it was at faulty. But we don't know yet if, on the other hand, 80% of the cases prove to be problematic, then that's when we should even have this conversation about whether it was too soon to go that way in an election that is as significant, as fundamental as this one. But we don't know yet.
INEC actually said that
what's the percentage?
when it comes, when the delivery of the machines come, they do not have access because it goes straight into the vault of the central bank, and they cannot have access until when the elections commence, and then they are able to bring this and then send them out. But they did have access when they conducted the test.
I think that is with respect to the ballot, the sensitive materials. Because otherwise you won't
no, of course, the card readers are also sensitive materials. That's why INEC actually came out today to say that they were in the vault of the bank.
Well, it's okay, but I did listen to Kayode earlier in the day when he was reacting to this particular point. I would imagine that he meant the voters' cards and so on and so forth. But I think by and large, like Prof did indicate here, we must remain focused and keep our eyes on the ball. The total objective of the card readers' introduction is to ensure that we increase the integrity of the process that we have at the moment. If the consensus out there is that, wait a minute, these were challenges we had at inception, you could rationalize it that it had to do with the level of training and all that, because there are a lot of...
We'll still come to that part, because, you know, remember we took a look at some of these matters yesterday, what played out in the field, but we'll come to that in a moment.